not an issue. Let me see what I could do the best in whatever a few hours that I got to prepare. What I'm trying to do in this case is, would somebody be there to help me out with the changing on this, right? Yeah. I'm very happy to see my students sitting here in this forum. So, fine. So, I understand that what I am speaking to the audience sitting here are all senior teachers from different parts of India. Can I have a brief introduction? Yes, you are all students, right? Can I have a brief introduction of the teachers, my colleagues here? Wonderful, wonderful. Yes. Very good.
So myself, Dr. Rajiv Paris from Shri Kamakshi Devi University Medical College, Goa.
Wonderful. I was there at your college 2-3 years back. I had a guest lecture there at your college when I published my book Organon Quest. So I had a tour to almost all the colleges of Maharashtra there and been there. Right. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Jaya Srivastava, Assistant Professor, Organon Medical College, Gandhi. Dr. Megha Patel, I am from Medical Ahmedabad and I am working as Assistant Professor in Organon Medicine Department in Ananya College of Homeopathy.
Ananya College.
Dr. Prashant Goyal, Lecturer, Homeopathy Medical College, Mehsana.
Mehsana.
K.M. Carter, Associate Professor, Rajkot Homeopathy Medical College.
Good. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Kanupriya, Assistant Professor, Department of Common Medicine, Rajkot Homeopathy Medical College.
Oh, wonderful.
Dr. Purushottam Kumar Singh, Assistant Professor, Organon Medicine, Government Medical College, Lota Chapter.
Dr. Pallavi from Udaipur College, Rajasthan.
Okay. Okay.
Dr. Vidya Solanki, Bhargava Homeopathic Medical College, Adel.
Okay. Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. Myself, Dr. Neha Makwana, working as Assistant Professor in Gujarat Homeopathic Medical College, Savli.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. And sir, we don't require any.
I am Dr. Singhi,
Okay.
SSVP Homeopathic Medical College, Hatta, Maharashtra.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I am seeing a lot of professors from Gujarat, all those who are teaching in Rajkot colleges and colleges in the Rajkot belt and Mehsana belt. So you all have passed from Gujarat only?
No, sir. I am passed.
You passed from Gujarat.
I am passed. So from
Okay, okay. A brief introduction about my career. I am basically a hardcore Mumbaiite, born and brought up in Mumbai. But then I passed my homeopathy way back in 85, 86. And then I started practicing in Mumbai. Then I was teaching at Sshmc Homeopathic Medical College for some time. Myself, Dr. Jay Patel and Rajan Chintan, we were teaching there together. And then I shifted to Vadodara somewhere in 94. And in 94, I joined Baroda Homeopathic Medical College as a lecturer. I was there till 99. From 2000 onwards, when our Dr. Rajesh Soni sir, the founder member of this trust, was a very humble human being and a very close friend. So when we started this institution, we were the ones who actually started this Mahalakshmi Mahila Homeopathic Medical College. I was one of the pioneering staff there. We worked there from 2000 till 2009. And then this Baroda Homeopathic Medical College wanted to start a postgraduate department, so I joined there as the administrator for the postgraduate department for quite some years. Then again, right now, with the sister college of this thing. Anyway, what I understand is that history is something which we normally don't recollect or we don't give enough of importance. Probably you all being teachers, you all know about history or probably different timelines in homeopathic college, homeopathic history. But very few of you, next slide, very few of you would be able to recognize the timelines. If I show you some pictorials, you will not be able to recognize the pictorials. See, because you may have image of Dr. Mazumdar or you may have image of Dr. Rajendra Lal Datta in your mind or you may have image of Pointberger in your mind, but then, probably if I show you suddenly an image in timeline, then you would not be interested or rather you would not be able to recognize. So today what I have tried to do in whatever short time I could get is create a visual timeline into the history of homeopathy, and when this session gets over, I would be addressing something beyond the PowerPoint, that is the scope and future. History is history. What we are more interested is in future. So definitely we would be dealing with the future of homeopathy, right? So basically, any science which has to survive for this long years itself is a testimony that the science is not something which has come out of the way. Probably you all know that there are hundreds and hundreds of alternative medicines around. We are part of one of the alternative systems. Many alternative systems come and then they go. But then when some system survives for say 183 years, I am talking of Indian timeline. Very few of you must be aware that in India homeopathy is there from Hanuman era. We have homeopathy in India even when Hanuman was alive. So I'll share the timeline so that you will become aware that we have deep roots about homeopathy right from where Dr. Hanuman was there. Okay, next slide please. So 1796 we can say homeopathy was born, but then almost in 10-15 years since the homeopathy was born, it did come to India. Next slide. Actually, we don't have very classical figures about the statistical data about homeopathy and its advantage to India. In era before 1852, but then because in that era, particularly only the civil and military services people, they were using this homeopathic medicine. So you can say that classical homeopathic therapeutic system did not come into existence before 1852. But yes, we do have references of, we have documentation of homeopathy being present from that particular era. In fact, there was a book published in 1852 in London, right, which has mentions of homeopathy and practice of homeopathy in the eastern countries and in India. So we do have documentation of homeopathy being practiced way back earlier than from 1810 to 1852. We do have documentation. Next slide. So the journey of homeopathy, right? There are different schools of thoughts about the journey of homeopathy. Next slide. You all know this classic book. You all know this classic book very well. Fragmentary medical positivist. Right? This is the picture of the original fragmenta. And then previous slide, please. In fact, when fragmenta was published, Dr. Hanuman had already experimented with about 27 medicines. Right? So, in fact, there was a German physician who had come for some geological experimentations, and he had taken medicines from Hanuman himself, these 27 medicines, and he had started using them in India when he had come for some experimentations. Next slide. In fact, that scientist had based himself in Canada, and basically he started distributing free medicines for his own workers because they were into mining and they were into research into geology. So they were using those medicines for their own this thing. And all medicines which were used in Fragmenta, they were all being used because there were very limited resources. Because Hahnemann had by that time only proved about limited number of medicines. Right? Then you can say the real therapeutic practice was probably started post 1854 when Dr. Mullen, he was from the London Missionary Society. This is the London Missionary Society. This is the, there is a book known as History of London Homeopathic, London Missionary Society, and written by Richard Doherty. Mullen was a part of this society, and he started distributing homeopathic medicines, mainly Calcutta, Bhawanipur area. How many of you, anyone from West Bengal? No. None of them. Okay. Because if somebody who were there from West Bengal would have been more than happy because the major timelines are all there in Bengal. Right? Right. So, next slide. You all know this character very well. Probably people will start recognizing homeopathy from here. Weinberger. Weinberger is something which everyone will recognize. Otherwise, before Weinberger's time, nobody knows anything about homeopathy. Even Weinberger, very few of them know that Weinberger visited India twice. So, when he came for the first time, and then he he learned from Paris when Hahnemann was going through his last phases there from Paris. So he did learn things from there, and then when he came up here, he set up a base in Calcutta, and you know the famous cholera epidemic, and he was known to be a cholera doctor, so much so, this is the book written on cholera by Weinberger. This is the original book with the title published by Weinberger. There is a copy of this book available in Calcutta Homeopathic Medical College. I have gone and visited that college and seen the book also. I had gone there as a resource person once, and I have seen this book in physical form. They are very stringent people there at NIH and this. They do preserve things a lot. Right. Next slide. And then this story everyone knows about Weinberger, that in 1839 when he came for the second time and this Maharaja Ranjit Singh story. I think if you are all teachers of homeopathy, I don't need to really get down into these things. So whatever the experimentation that was done, these are the real pictures, they are not the graphic images. These are the real pictures taken from the courts of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Right? How I got across these pictures is that very few of them know that Maharaja Ranjit Singh of Punjab and their descendants are related to Maharaja Gaikwad of Baroda. Their daughters got married. So, you know, we do have literature here in the Royal Palace, having all the old literature. So this is the real image of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Next slide. Medicine also, you know what Weinberger gave. He gave Dalgamara. He gave Dalgamara 3x, 3 files in a lump of sugar. And everybody knows the rest of the story. You all must be wondering why 3x, why 6x, and lower potencies. If you go into timeline, when did the theory of drug dynamization get published? Probably way back in the 5th edition, 34. 30. Probably when Hahnemann was about say 70 plus years of age. There is no mention of potentization at depth in the earlier editions of Organon. There was a reason why there was no experiment or there was no documentation of potentization, because the formula was still not fixed into Hahnemann's mind. This whole idea was a trial and error method. Anybody knows from here how this idea of potentization came into Hahnemann's mind? how did this idea of potentizing the drug came into Hahnemann's mind?
So there are some rumors regarding, because Hahnemann visited to the cart to different places to treat the patient, and what happened, he found out then whatever he is treating at their own home or clinic is less responding than the other people, and this is the rumor that he got some idea regarding this.
Okay. Anybody else?
Because the medicine get
Anyone else? How did he get this idea? No. Fine. You all know that Hahnemann was also a very good chemist, and he was being routinely consulted by chemical factories. So there was one chemical factory in Chintan who were into production of mercury chloride. And when you produce mercury chloride, you require a catalyst. And this factory was not able to actually judge the right dose of catalyst to use into the production of mercury chloride. And you know what was happening? This whole cycle of production was probably getting delayed, or some weird experiments were happening. So what he did, he gave a big dose of the catalyst. It didn't work. In fact, the outcome of mercury chloride was so poor that the quality deteriorated so much that they were not happy with the quality. Even then he reduced the dose, still the process time did not improve anything. But when he gave very small doses of catalyst, the process time and the quality of mercury chloride did improve. Then he started researching, is there any documentation into anything which can prove that a small dose can actually stimulate the process of something. And then he got a reference from a very different source. So you also know that he was translating books, right? So he was translating some books of forensic medicine, postmortem reviews. And in postmortem reviews, he found a law known as Arlt-Schulz law. Arlt-Schulz law. I think Arlt-Schulz law you are all aware, right? Arlt-Schulz law states that for any given substance, large doses,
Small dose stimulate.
large doses,
Kill.
moderate doses, inhibit, and small doses stimulate. But this law was originally a law seen in the effects of toxins, effects of poisons as studied into different books. So Hahnemann did get a passing reference of this law from that particular toxicological textbook, and from where he took up, try what is best happening into different levels of potentization, right? Different level of dilution, not potentization, because that word potentization was not there, still not there in his mind. So it was more of dilutions. Let me dilute it and see. Let me dilute with different amounts of dilution and see. So these trial and error took him a very long period of time to, ultimately finalize onto his formula that these are the right proportions in which you can get quicker results. And then, of course, he kept revolutionizing so many things. Every edition of Organon, you will see that he had lots of changes being made. From you read first edition, second edition, third edition, fourth edition, and so on, right? You can see a series of mindsets, which change. We in Vadodara are very fortunate that we have a museum of homeopathy, right, where each and every edition of Organon is there. It's one of the most amazing places. People who have come from somewhere else, I recommend that you should go and visit that place. It is it is a place of worship for homeopathy. There are only two Hahnemann museums. One is there in Gießen, Germany, and one is there in Vadodara. Right? So I was very fortunate that Dr. R.P. Patel, we were lucky, he used to come and teach us at Saudi. I'm a Saudi student. I studied in Saudi, and R.P. Patel sir started practicing in Kottayam, but he was so keen on teaching that sir used to come and take our lectures. So we were blessed that way. Anyway, so this thought process kept changing, and then he decided. But then he was not even happy with statistical skill. Very honestly, I know I'm getting out of my core topic allotted. My core allotted topic is really boring. I'm taking the liberty of shifting to something else also in between. Am I audible and my language is comfortable?
Yes.
I can speak in whatever language you are comfortable. I can speak fluently Gujarati, Hindi, Marathi, English. A little bit of Bhojpuri also. Having practiced in Mumbai for 10 years, you have to learn Marathi. Anyway, so coming to this potency thing, why do you think this new way of or new method of potentization what was the idea behind changing the whole method of preparation of drugs in the 6th edition? Anyone having doubts that 6th edition is posthumous and there are changes made by somebody else is all humbug. Number one, I can show you a documentation. You open chronic diseases. You all know that there are 2 editions of chronic diseases, right? First edition of chronic disease had 3 volumes, which was translated into English by whom? Anyone knows? Who translated? No, in English. The English edition, English translation was done by Taffen, of Boric and Taffen. Right? And the second edition had 5 volumes, and those 5 volumes were translated by Hughes. Right? So if you open the translation, because the last volume of chronic disease, the 5th volume in German, was published in 1839, maybe 2-3 years before the death of Dr. Hahnemann. Right? And by that time, everything was ready. If you read even what the green book that you see, this chronic disease book, we have this 2 volumes of chronic diseases in English, which is technically not a chronic disease book, because if you open chronic diseases, there is hardly anything about chronic diseases. It's just a misnomer. It's more of Mater Medica Pura records. You only have a few pages mentioned about chronic diseases in that book. So I tell my students, open this book. What is this book about? They would say chronic diseases. So purposefully I give them volume 2. Open it and show me anything about chronic disease. And then they start laughing because there are only Mater Medica Pura records. You can experiment with yourself, with your students, and they will all start laughing because they will not find any data about it. Anyway, so if you open the preface to this chronic diseases, in preface of chronic diseases, there is a very clear writing by Hahnemann mentioning about the word vital principle, mentioning about the new way of preparation of drug, everything, which is signed by Hahnemann, dated by Hahnemann, a year before he died, with Paris and his date and sign. Open chronic diseases and see it for yourself. Right? So I don't consider 6th edition to be something which we should be doubting about, because that is all facts. I mean, there's nothing doubtful about it. There are reasons why certain things have not become popular. 50 millisimal scale of medicines have not become very popular into practice. There are reasons for it. Right? And there were reasons for Hahnemann to introduce it also. What were the reasons for Hahnemann to introduce it? Anyone?
To shorten the time taken to cure chronic disease.
How would it shorten the time?
Rapid cure.
How?
Why unnecessary aggravation?
how would it shorten the treatment time? Logically.
We can use it frequently at interval of.
Why can we use it frequently?
Because the dynamization is 1 by 50,000 times, no? So that's why we can repeat it.
Okay.
Less
So
aggravation.
if we dynamize it in 1 to 50,000 parts, there will be no aggravations?
Less aggravation in respect of centesimal scale.
Minimal aggravation.
Aggravations can happen. So if you go into centesimal potency, and if you are using say a thousandth of potency or maybe 10,000th of a potency, it is more diluted than the 50 millisievert scale, isn't it? So why there are aggravations there and not here? Any logic?
Every time medicine should be improved by suction method. We improve the.
So basically, Hahnemann called that method as a wait and watch method, centesimal scale, because he said you have to give a dose, then wait for the reaction to happen, isn't it?
फोर्थ एडिशन तक था, फिफ्थ एडिशन में तो उन्होंने प्लसिंग वो तो फिफ्थ एडिशन में फिर आ गया था प्लसिंग पोटेंशियल तो डायल्यूशन वहां भी आ गया था।
नहीं, मैं सेंटिसिमल स्केल की फिफ्थ एडिशन की बात कर रहा हूँ। उसमें उन्होंने बोला था कि आप सेंटिसिमल स्केल का एक डोज दो and then you wait for the reaction to happen, and that is why that method is also quoted as wait and watch method by Hahnemann, right? Now what was happening, the duration of action of drug is not known. Every drug's duration of action is not known to us. Boric has made his best efforts to, if you open the textbook of Boric Materia Medica, at the last pages you will see that he has mentioned this drug works for this many days and this work drugs for this many days. But again, William Boric all his life probably used grains and lower potencies, right? He was basically a pharmacist more, right? They were running a pharmacy factory, Boric and Tapple, right? So probably we really don't know the duration of action of each drug. It's just trial and error. We don't know. Probably a dose of silicia will work for a month. Probably a dose of sulfur may work for 3 months. We don't know, really don't know. That dilemma was already there in Hahnemann's mind, and he was not very sure for how long to wait. And he is also told that when you read aphorism number 104 to 144, 45 for drug proving, there is very clear-cut mention by Hahnemann that every prover may not be susceptible to the given drug, right? That means prover may produce symptom, may not produce symptom. Likewise, to a given drug, there may be a susceptible reaction, there may not be a reaction. The drug will produce reaction only if it is 100% suitable, right? Otherwise, it will not produce. So, supposing you have given a wrong drug, it will not produce any reaction. It may not produce aggravation, but it may not produce any reaction also. So, how long to wait was a big dilemma. They were not able to decide on to how long should we be waiting, right? So, basically, Dr. Hahnemann wanted to produce an aggravation, produce a reaction to check whether the given drug is susceptible to the patient, right? How to produce a reaction? If it is the suitable drug, what he has selected, if he is able to give it in daily dose, it will produce some reaction, right? So, in 50 millisievert scale, to reduce the aggravations, as you all very rightly said, the dilutions were made more and every dose was given. But then every dose was given in which way? Every dose was given with daily change of potency. You all know that probably, how would you change the level of susceptibility, or how would you change the level of dynamization? You would change the level of dynamization by changing the potencies, changing the level of susceptibility of a given drug. We are very unfortunate at times because, with centesimal scale of potencies, We have a lot of limitations. I do not know why. You go to any homeopathic pharmacy and ask for a medicine, you get 6th potency, then you directly get 30th potency, then you get the 200 potency. You go and ask for 150th potency, you will not get. After 200, you will only get 1000th potency. Why? So basically, every pharmacy is producing drug from the back potency. They could have very well prepared the whole series, but the series is not available, right? Because there are limitations. I'll come to that part a little later on. But then this 50 millisievert scale was probably introduced because he wanted to shorten the time by producing an aggravation to know whether the given drug, the individual is susceptible to the given drug. But then even the dose became very small, right? He said you have to dissolve 1 poppy-sized pill in 3 ounces of water. That's 100 ml of water into 1 poppy-sized pill. And then you have to take 15 ml from that water. Of that 100 ml of water, you take 15 ml of that water and consume it. And if there is still more aggravation, there is a method told by him known as 3-cup method. Right? You 1, 2nd and 3rd. I mean, I remember this very well because the biggest experimenter with 50 millisievert scale was Dr. R.P. Patel sir. He was the one who has done maximum research in 50 millisievert scale, and these were taught to us by R.P. Patel sir himself. So it has come from the horse's mouth, there's no doubt about it. Right? So now, this whatever 1 poppy-sized pill is there, anyone has ever bothered to count how many of you have used 50 millisievert scale in your practice? Many of you. Wonderful. So you must have brought those 2 dram files of those poppy-sized pills. Have you ever bothered to count how many poppy-sized pills are there in a 2 dram file?
No.
I have counted, I'm telling you. There are more than 2,000 poppy-sized pills in 1 2-dram bottle. That means technically, if I am to use 1 poppy-sized pill and give it to a patient, my stock of medicine is never ever going to get exhausted. Isn't it? So how will the pharmacy earn out of it? I have purchased medicine once and I am now never ever going to purchase any more medicine. That is one more reason why the pharmacists don't promote 50 millisievert, because they don't earn out of anything out of 50 millisievert. That was probably one of the main reasons. Why? You mean to say, who purchased the rights of 6th edition? Who purchased to publish the rights of 6th edition? Organon. What were their main business? Running pharmacy. And not practice was secondary. Their main business was to run a pharmacy. When they also got a shock of the life when they actually read the manuscript. कि साला इसमें तो अपना ही नुकसान है, इसमें तो कुछ कमाने का नहीं है, एक पुलिस वाला कभी खत्म ही नहीं होगा, मेरा धंधा कैसे चलेगा? तो वो बोरिंग ने उसको पब्लिसाइज ज्यादा नहीं किया. There are other set of reasons why the 6th edition did not become very popular. Then later on people started understanding that yes, it is very effective and we have a whole range, and whenever you start using it in your practice, you see miraculous results with 50 millisievert. So, now when doctors started asking for it, pharmacies were forced to manufacture it. Otherwise they had no, you visit any pharmacy store, what are they interested in? What are they interested in selling in? Patents and syrups. Their core business is to sell this drop, falana drop, dishna drop, detergents, hair oil, shampoo, soap, skin oil, and I don't know. It is more like a kirana dukan. I many a times tell my students who practice this way कि इतना ही अगर तुमको साबुन शैम्पू तेल बेचना है तो किराने की दुकान खोलो यार, प्रैक्टिस क्यों करो? It is more lucrative. Anyway, so coming to the point is that there were n number of reasons why certain things did not succeed. This all potencies that you see lower potencies. In fact, the most interesting literature that I have read is Introduction to Chronic Disease. I recommend all you teachers to now go back, open chronic diseases, and read the introductory portion, introduction to all different editions written by Hahnemann. It is very interesting, very challenging. You know? See, Richard Hughes was of the opinion that none of the drugs, which is actually a fact, majority of the drugs proved in homeopathy were never proved beyond 30th potency. If you read the data of drug proving, whether it is fragmented individuals, medicamentorum positivis, or whether the data is from chronic diseases, or whether the data is from materia medica pura, you go and open these books, the data proving that you see is all what? The data of proving is all in either the 6th potency or probably the 30th potency. I am not saying Hahnemann did not mention about higher potency. He did mention. In fact, in his own practice, he prepared himself and used, but they are not documented. The documentation is there, probably in the potencies which you can say, the range of potencies that you can say is in 6th and 30th. Right? Even in your practice, people from Calcutta built. I'm very sorry because I was expecting somebody from Bengal. You know, he would have loved because the way we learned homeopathy, we learned from Calcutta.
मास्टरपीस लोग आए थे सर, बट वो अनफॉर्चुनेटली चले गए.
तो हम कलकत्ता लॉबी से ही सीखे हुए हैं प्रैक्टिस ऑफ होम्योपैथी. तो हमारा थोड़ा स्टाइल भी प्रैक्टिस का कलकत्ता स्टाइल का प्रैक्टिस आ जाता है. स्नैपशॉट प्रिस्क्रिप्शन आता है, 2 घंटा मेरे से नहीं बैठ जाता. वेरी ऑनेस्ट है ना. तो हम लोगों एलएन स्पीड से ही प्रिस्क्राइब करते हैं, उसी से हमको रिजल्ट मिलता भी है, कोई ज्यादा दिक्कत नहीं है. बट जहां पर इंडिविजुअल ससेप्टिबिलिटी का सवाल है, जहां पर प्रीडोमिनेंस ऑफ मेंटल्स है, जहां पर पेस ऑफ द डिजीज बहुत फास्ट है, पैथोलॉजी फंक्शनल है, तो हायर पोटेंसी यूज कर लिया, ठीक है. बट अदरवाइज द मैक्सिमल रिजल्ट्स दैट यू गेट is with the 30th potency. This is the clinical observation. I may be wrong. These are all individual observations. This is my observation of my 35 years of practice. But then this is what I have seen. You can all experiment upon it. There is no harm. With seniors around who have years of experience, you have the opportunity to, try in your practice. If you're using higher range of potency, sometimes try 30th and see what you usually get. So I think I have diverted too much from my topic. Let me come back to this boring topic once again. So the next slide, please. So you can technically say Ungaron was one who introduced homeopathy, and in fact there was a book, a review in London known as Calcutta Review. And there was this article published in London, an introduction into India. Homeopathy and its introduction to India was published in London, and you can see the year 1852. So this article was published in 1852. 35 years of homeopathy in India. That means you can say that in 1820s, homeopathy must have been there, right? This is an indirect proof of how early homeopathy was there in India, So we do have absolute documentation. You can find this book online. I do not know whether Google at times behaves in a very funny way, but then you can find this. And you can see that there are documentations which can actually prove that we do have homeopathy right from the early days, even when Hahnemann was alive. Next slide. Homeopathic journey, as you all know, it was always pre-nominated by Bengal and Bengal lobby. there was a reason why it was predominated by Bengal, because it originated there in India. So it was very sure or very likely that it will happen only from Bengal. And we have a long timeline of homeopathy in Bengal. Right? Probably in 1851, this is the photo of Sir John Hunter Little. John Hunter Little was Deputy Governor of Bengal. Right? By that time, the East India Company had already come to India. Right? So he was appointed as Deputy. And he was the one who started a native homeopathic hospital, and a free dispensary was started. And he was the first health officer of Calcutta. Next slide. In fact, then another gentleman came, H. Rifle, he was a military pensioner of subordinate services, and he was staying in the Kuli Bazar area and Khidinapur area. Kuli Bazar is a wonderful area. You visit Calcutta and go and visit this area. Kuli Bazar is an area where they make those Durga statues. I was there 3-4 years back. I was coming back from Andaman. While coming back, I stayed there because I wanted to go and see the new, renewed National Institute of Homeopathy. My good friend Dr. Bhattacharya is Rajat is there. Rajat Chattopadhyay is there. He is heading NIH. So he had called Chintan, you come, have a look. We were as a resource person together once in Shimla. There is a college nearby Shimla at
Solan.
Solan, Kumarhatti. So there is a college in Kumarhatti. So we were there. So Rajat was also there. And so I had gone. Wonderful area, worth visiting. Next slide. And then this great man that we all know about, Rajendra Lal Datta, I can say the maximum contribution in India, if anyone has done, is by Dr. Rajendra Lal Datta. He is the one who you can say has pioneered all revolutions of homeopathy in India. Basically a Calcutta Medical College graduate. He went into homeopathy because he himself was treated by an amateur homeopath. And then he developed interest in homeopathy, and then he got converted into homeopathy. Next slide. Now, see these, if you see this timeline, all these stalwarts got converted by Rajendra Lal Datta. Rajendra Lal Datta treated many people, and then all of them got converted, and then they were the ones who contributed a lot to homeopathy. Same here, Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, everybody knows about Vidyasagar sir, and he was also treated by Rajendra Lal Datta, and then with his result he actually got converted into homeopathy. In fact, this Rajbari area is there in Bengal. It was there, now it is no more. It is known by some other name. So there were those small provinces, and this Raja, Radhakandev Bahadur, he had a gangrene, and he was also treated by Rajendra Lal Datta, and the gangrene was cured. There is a story going on that he was given the gold worth, his weight is 2 foot. That much of gold was given to Dr. Rajendra Lal Datta by this Maharaj sir. Next slide. So basically these success stories, they have gone a long way into history of homeopathy. And then you all know about Dr. M.L. Sarkar sir. So he was the one who actually got a degree from Calcutta University, and he was also converted by Dr. Rajendra Lal Datta only, basically an allopathic physician, but then Mahendra Sarkar also got converted into homeopathy. Next slide. Again, P.C. Mazumdar sir and his son and his grandson. There are 3 generations of Mazumdars who practiced there, right? I was again very fortunate. There was one Dr. P.C. grandson of Dr. Mazumdar, and then there was one Dr. Mandal. So Dr. Mandal's daughter happened to be our colleague in the college where I teach, Dr. Rita Ben Mandal. His father was the colleague of Dr. Mazumdar, and they were practicing in Calcutta, and we were very lucky even to visit Mandal Sir's clinic. I remember his clinic was at second floor, and there would be a queue of people waiting outside on the street. He never gave appointments. There would be about 150 odd patients waiting into a queue. And you simply have to wait for days together to meet him. Right? So P.C. Mazumdar again he was converted by Dr. Bhaduri, his father-in-law. Right? Next time. In fact, Dr. Bhaduri actually worked with Hahnemann and the associates. Right? Now, when we talk about homeopathy, and if we don't talk about homeopathic pharmacy and the development of pharmacopoeia, that is also wrong. Sources have to come from somewhere, isn't it? Excuse me. Can we start this fan or something or an air conditioner? Fan probably, I do not know whether it will make noise. It's okay.
लाइट बंद कर दीजिए
Fine. Okay, that's fine. I think this air conditioner is started. Probably it will take its own course of time. So, it's okay, sir. Come on. So, anybody recognizes this man? Anybody recognizes this man? Anybody recognizes Dr. B.K. Bose? No? No? Dr. P.C. Mazumdar. Anybody heard the name of Mazumdar Pharmacy? Mazumdar's Pharmacy, that is one of the oldest existing pharmacy who they people still do hand potentization. They are the ones who prepare medicines with hand potentization and not the mechanized potentization. But then Mazumdar was one who basically, you must have also read a book, Drugs of Hindustan. Anybody knows about that book? Drugs of Hindustan? So there is a book known as Drugs of Hindustan, and this gentleman was the one who actually proved many Indian drugs. So you have provings of haldi, and you have provings of turmeric, and you have provings of so many Indian variants, and they're all mentioned. And you have books available in Bengali also, and you have books available in English also. In fact, he was the one who actually established the homeopathic pharmacopoeia in India. He was the one instrumental to help, streamline. He was the one who actually attended the international conference in Chicago way back in 1891. This is now you have a college in Calcutta by his name. This is the photo of the college, Pratap Chandra Memorial Homeopathic College. Next. Previously, next. So now comes the era where formal education, we are sitting in an educational institute, right? So here is the era from where the formal education actually started, and the first college, the Calcutta Homeopathic Medical College, was established way back in 1881 in Calcutta. I have the photos, old photo of when the college was started from the records, and this is the current, in fact this is the archived photo from Calcutta Homeopathic Medical College Museum. Right? So D.N. Roy was there who really helped establishing this college. Next slide. And then at the end of 19th century, Mahesh Chandra Bhattacharya chemist again, and he also helped a lot in homeopathic pharmacy. Bhattacharya in pharmacy, everybody is aware about. That was established by Maheshchandra Bhattacharya, right? So he also helped in compiling. Bhattacharya also helped in compiling the pharmacopoeia. He and Mazumdar together did a lot of work in pharmacy, right? This is the homeopathic pharmacopoeia, the original homeopathic pharmacopoeia, copy of original homeopathic pharmacopoeia, as seen by MC Bhattacharya. Next slide. And then comes the great grand man, Dr. D.K. Bose. See, many a times I have seen when you start practicing, you need to have a selfless motive. Although we are teaching first aphorism in our practice to our students, the high and only mission of the physician is to restore the sick to health, to cure as the physical. We keep taking literally meaning of it. But then, if I ask somebody, how is this aphorism helpful to you in your practice? How is it? How is first aphorism helpful to you in your practice? How is first aphorism helpful to you in your practice?
Every time, sir. Every patient we have dealt with, every follow-up, it helps a lot. Without this, we cannot proceed.
Like in what way?
Patient generals are very good.
Sick is very important, sir. Sick to health cannot.
There is another dimension to it, right? The another dimension to it is that what Hanuman says,
Our mission.
What is your mission? Is to
Restore.
basically, this word mission comes from a word missionaries. These Christian missionaries, they actually, dedicate their life for self, unconditional. Likewise, whether your patient is able to pay you money or not, whether your patient can afford your treatment or not, if you are able to treat selflessly, then it is the patient who will get you another patient. You don't need to do any marketing, right? If you are actually doing selfless service, I always tell my new students, when you will establish your new practice, नया practice शुरू करोगे तो शुरुआत में कौन आएगा तुम्हारे पास में? या तो तुम्हारे कोई रिलेटिव है जिसको आप पैसा नहीं ले सकते, या तो दूसरा कौन आएगा, कोई रास्ते चलते हुआ आदमी आ गया, बराबर? वो 1 घंटा खपाएगा आपसे, और 1 घंटा खपाने के बाद में बोलेगा, जब आप बोलोगे मैं दवाई दे दूं, साहब अभी आज तो मैं पैसा नहीं लाया हूँ, मैं बाद में आता हूँ, right? Or somebody just casually, but if you give them medicine and if they are better, and if the first aphorism is there clicking in your mind, those patients will get you more patients. It's more word of mouth publicity. If this is impregnated in your mind, probably you are not ever going to lose your practice. So I always say homeopathy doctors should either have some other resources to earn money. Number one, I'm sorry, but yes, I also have some other resource to earn money. I'm running a chocolate factory. It's very nearby. You're all welcome. It's about 130 kilometers from this place. I have to earn cable also. You can come. Most welcome. Everybody is welcome. It's a huge factory. You can eat as many chocolates as you want.
That's why we are coming.
And take back full chocolate. Don't worry about it.
Free of cost.
Yeah, free of cost. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Wait. You can sit. Why are you sitting here? Sit in the chair. थक जाएगा तू. You are going to be tired if you are going to stand. मेरे को तो जग मारा के खड़ा रहना है, तो मैं खड़ा रहेगा. मेरे को तो 2 ही घंटा दिया था ये प्रिपरेशन करने का. So I am sorry, my efforts will be a little half-hearted because it's only a matter of few hours of exercise, right? But then, So this homeopath should either have some another source of income, or he should have such large heart that he is able to treat the patient in spite of whatever he is going to get in return. Stuart Paul also says the same thing. What homeopathy has offered to the young man. He says, what can you offer to homeopathy? Decide that first. Right? So, B.K. Bose was one gentleman, basically from royal family. B.K. Bose had enough money, right? Unfortunately, B.K. Bose had to run away from India because he was persecuted by the British government, and he had to run away to US via France. And that is how, next slide. And very fortunately for homeopathy, that when Dr. B.K. Bose went to USA, he was directed to meet Dr. Kent. He said, you go to Dr. Kent, and Dr. Kent will help you establish into some alternative homeopathy. And Kent took him to Herring College, and he learned homeopathy. In fact, Sir John Wire was an intern there. He was an outgoing intern. So B.K. Bose also learned a lot of things from John Wire. And see this beautiful quote from the Herring College. If you can read this. Herring College advertising that we have. In our clinics last year, we have treated 5,000 cases prescribed by our students. Prescribed by our students. I keep telling all these homeopathic colleges, self-finance colleges, government colleges, why you don't give enough clinical exposure to the students? Why you don't allow the students to prescribe? Once they prescribe, then they will learn, get some confidence. गलती सब करते हैं, ठीक है ना? You are there as an observer. सिखाओ, गलती कर रहे तो बाद में बोलो, पेशेंट के सामने मत बोलो, बाद में बोलो. सीखने दो ना बच्चों को, है ना? So, see, they are saying 5,000 plus clinical cases were treated under the direction of faculty of practice. Doctors send your students to Old Herring, where they will meet James Taylor Kent and other authorities. And this is how B.K. Bose got his knowledge. Next slide. He took his admission into, see, again, let me tell you, today also, when you go outside of India, homeopathy is considered to be a super speciality. It's just not a regular degree. Homeopathy is a super speciality, so you need a degree in allopathy, and then you can take a 2-year module of homeopathy, and then you can prescribe. There are 7 states in USA who legally allow homeopathy, but only if you have a postgraduate degree in allopathic medicine, right? So he also took his MD degree from Kansas State University, and then he came back to India post-independence. I mean, formal education again. He started his practicing in Calcutta. Later, he was called to Benares by Motilal Nehru. His reputation had spread. So, Motilal Nehru was also a very firm believer in homeopathy. The whole family, I would say, even Indira Gandhi used to take homeopathy, right? And I am very proud to say even our current Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, is also a very ardent follower of homeopathy. He also takes homeopathic medicines, right? So, B.K. Bose treated Motilal Nehru. This is the Motilal Nehru, right? And then, but then he shifted back to Calcutta, and then he joined Calcutta Homeopathic Medical College. I know of still some living legends who have studied under Dr. B.K. Bose. I have one of my professors here in Vadodara who studied under B.K. Bose. Dr. Ashley Madrasi, sir is also now 80 plus. But he had studied, and he was lucky to have some. Next. Well, Majumdar, as you all know, the pharmacy guy, he introduced, this is Pratap Chandra Majumdar and this is J.N. Majumdar, his grandson. See, they practice how they used to. Majumdar Homeopathic Pharmacy, just removed to this. special attention paid to Muflis orders and cases. Anyone knows what is Muflis cases? Mofussil. Anyone knows what it means?
Incurable cases. Incurable cases.
Why don't you Google it out? Use a Google.
The provincial or rural district of India.
Sorry?
The provincial or rural district of India.
Provincial or?
Rural district of India.
Basically, they were giving priorities from people coming from very poor rural background, very poor. So these were the humble roots, special attention paid to poor people. I was trying to highlight you the importance of first aphorism. This is the classical example of the seniors who would literally mention on their board that we are giving special attention to poor people. Right? Next slide. This is all about the Bengal history. Now let us go to the southern aspect of this thing. 1846, homeopathic hospitals in south. People know about Father Muller, but people don't know about Samuel Brookings. Samuel Brookings was the one who actually started homeopathy in south much before Father Muller. Samuel Brookings was the one who actually started homeopathic hospitals. He was basically a surgeon, but then he got interested into homeopathy, and he is the one who actually, he used to treat the Maharaja of Tanjore and Kolkata and a lot of, he had a patronage of a lot of kings from the south. Next slide. Next slide. Then of course, Father Augustine Muller came in. He landed in Mangalore, and he landed in Mangalore in 1878. And then actually he brought with him a small kit of homeopathic medicines. Right? He was the one who had actually met Hahnemann in Paris. He had met Hahnemann in Paris, and he took this kit from Madame Melanie Harvey, and he used to treat this, and he used to treat his students also with this medicine. 1880, a regular dispensary was started. Right? It was known as Homeopathic Poor Dispensary. Dispensary for poor people at Kanakadi Hills. That's right. Actually, he did not only start homeopathic dispensary, he also started a leprosy hospital in asylum for mental patients. He was the pioneer into a lot of things. So Father Muller's work is a huge range of work again done. And he was also the one who started the work for the poor. Next slide. In fact, now if you see Father Muller, what he started has turned into a massive institute where UG and PG courses are there. Whenever you go, next slide. Previous slide. So whenever you get chance to visit Mangalore, and I believe everybody should visit Mangalore once. Mangalore is a wonderful place, beautiful place. There are 3 or 4 things around Mangalore. There is a district very near to Mangalore known as Udupi. So, and then there is something known as, there is a huge university, right? And if you ever happen to be in Udupi, you should be visiting a place known as Kapu. Kapu is a beach, and there is a beautiful road which goes from Mangalore all the way through Kapu. One side of the road is all backwaters like Kerala, and the next side is all sea. Sea, waves touching your feet, backwaters touching your feet, and at one point everything gets together. There are beautiful surfing schools, and there are, what a wonderful place. I am very fond of scuba diving. I have done about 30 dives till now. So Kapu is one of the very nice place for scuba. So we always go there. Scuba, Kapu is very good. Murudeshwar is also very good for scuba. Right? I'm an avid traveler. I travel a lot. So this Bangalore is beautiful, wonderful. Even you should, if you go down south more, you should also be visiting Tuticorin. Tuticorin is also a wonderful place. Right? Very beautiful beaches. Next slide. So south we all know. Let us go to North India. Very little thing is known about North India, but yes, 1867, right? Banaras Homeopathic Hospital was set up by Loknath Mehta. Again, we discussed why Rajendra Lal Datta went to Banaras. He went to Banaras to establish homeopathy in the northern parts. He converted Loknath Mitra into homeopathy, and he was the one who started a homeopathic hospital there. Next slide. Again, these are the new college photo and the old pre-era library of the hospital. Right? These are the authenticated photographs again. Next slide. Again, there were from Loknath Mitra to Yuan was there. He was again Motilal Mishra. Motilal Nehru also had bronchial asthma, which his son Jawaharlal Nehru also inherited, and which Rajiv Gandhi also inherited. Right? But then Motilal Nehru's asthma was cured by Dr. Yuan, and Motilal was so impressed by the cure that he bought the whole library from American homeopathy. Right? And then when he died, the whole library was donated to Allahabad University. Motilal Nehru was a very rich man, very, very rich man. Right? He was one of the finest lawyers that India had. And, you know, he would send his clothes for dry cleaning to London. And there is a story when Indira Gandhi was attending Jawaharlal Nehru was attending his school. So his school had 5-6 gates. So many times what would happen, the driver would come, but the driver would be standing at one gate and he would come out of another gate. So he complained to, Jawaharlal complained to Motilal Nehru, Papa, I am not able to find the driver. Every time I come, he is somewhere else. Next day onwards, he would send 6 cars with 6 drivers, and all the drivers would be standing at all the gates. So, next slide. Of course, we have this great gentleman, you know, Diwan Jaichand. Everybody has heard about Diwan Harishchand, but people have not heard about Diwan Jaichand. Right? Diwan Jaichand, again, he was born in Bawalpur, now West Pakistan, right? Did his medical education from Lahore and went to UK and returned to Punjab government. Next slide. In fact, he resigned and he became homeopath, and post-independence he shifted to Delhi, and then he established his clinic in Delhi. So all this Diwan Harishchand thing that you read is an inheritance created from his father, Diwan Lal Chandji. He is the one who gifted a lot of knowledge to Diwan Harishchandji, and you all know about Diwan Harishchandji, how popular he was in Delhi. Right? In fact, he shifted as a refugee, and I have also seen a lot of people who shifted as refugees to Delhi. They all become very successful people. A lot of Sindhi community who shifted from Sindh, Pakistan, have shifted. They have all become very successful business people. That's right. He was president of All India Institute of Homeopathy, Delhi branch for quite some time, and he edited a journal known as Health and Homeopathy. Next slide. West India, again, very few people know history about the western part of the India. western part of the India, 1870s. Again, everything had happened in 1870s. So a popular misconception is that we have homeopathy post 19th century. It's not post 19th century. We have homeopathy everywhere pre 19th century, because that is where all this great work was done. You know, everybody knows about Sshmc. Sshmc of Calcutta, he was treated for his cataract by homeopathic medicine. That's right. Right? Now, actually, post 19th century, it is more about struggle rather than understanding. So till now we have understood and probably evolved the timeline of homeopathy, but now we have to understand the pre and post-independence struggle, right? 43, West Bengal government took up the leader, leader Fazul Haq, and he actually was the first who started the faculty of homeopathic medicine, but other states never made any concrete efforts. West Bengal was the only state who made concrete efforts to, legalize homeopathy. That's right. I'm sorry, I'm sitting in Gujarat, but I have to speak something which is a true fact. Bhulabhai Desai was a cabinet level minister in the Congress ministry from Gujarat. A very strong leader, very, very strong leader. So when this proposal was put, Bhulabhai Desai bluntly told K.G. Saxena, I don't believe in homeopathy, I will not give it any rating. This is probably the only place where I can say we can thank Pakistan now, because Jinnah actually was a supporter and he pushed us. That time still things were there, so Jinnah was the one who pushed, no, Bhulabhai, you are wrong. We have experimented with homeopathy and it works, right? So Jinnah was in favor of homeopathy. In Pakistan also homeopathy is reasonably well developed. Next slide. Previous, please. Next slide. Now, because it was supported by Jinnah and it was supported by other things, Central Legislative Assembly did a resolution, and then to organize homeopathic professionals with some systematic organization should happen, and a corporate body should be formed, right? So All India Institute of Homeopathy was formed in 44 with central office in Delhi. Next slide. This resolution to legalize homeopathy, the discussion ran for hours together, right? And an official resolution was taken post-independence on 17th February 48. That time we had this health minister, first health minister of India, Rajkumari Amrit Kaur. She passed this resolution and ultimately legalized homeopathy. Next slide. So now once you legalize something, it has to be formulated, right? So a homeopathic inquiry committee was appointed by Government of India to know what is the position, how you can actually train people, and how you can regulate the training of homeopathy in relation, whether it is desired or not, how to control the practice and all that, right? Next slide. So committee submitted its report and recommendations in 49. In 52, the ad hoc committee and later advisory committee was made. Next slide. In 52, ultimately, Rajkumari Amrit Kaur expressed that, it is her desire to form a committee and director of general. So basically, this C.G. Pandit, Secretary ICM, Majumdar sir, Kumar Davle's father, Kumar Davle's grandfather, M.N. Davle's father, Dr. L.D. Davle, and Diwan Jaichandji, they were all appointed as members. Next slide. In 67, ultimately a bill was passed and a 36-member parliamentary committee was made, right, to establish the Central Council, and ultimately the Central Council of Homeopathy, which was there till now, which is no more now, was made in 73, and then Health Minister Karan Singh formed the CCH. Next. as soon as the Central Council of Homeopathy was formed, the Homeopathic Advisory Committee was separated. Next slide. National Institute of Homeopathy in Calcutta was established in 75 with an idea to give a very strong foundation and have a central body. Next. 70 asked KG Saxena sir, honorary advisor of homeopathy, decided to form a research in homeopathy. God only knows what research is being done in CCRS. I always have my doubts about whatever research, whatever happens in the name of research, right? Well, the only thing that I know is that those guys are paid really well. They are paid more than 2 lakh salaries, and I don't know what they do in the name of research. So, I always had a fight with the previous director of CCRS, whom I knew. So, I always used to tease him. Sir, what have you been doing? You tell me. Arey, tum Chintan mere ko hamesha chidate rehte. We had very sweet fights. Next slide. Manchanda sir, yes. Dr. M.K. Manchanda was very close to me and I knew him very well. And we had a lot of fights. We had a lot of verbal and written arguments. But then one man cannot change the system. That system in CCRH has become so very corrupt that really nothing is happening there. Right? And then the main credit goes to our PM sir, Narendra Modi sir, who actually wanted to remove all the corruption that is there in CCH. You know that most of the colleges were owned by CCH members, and too much of corruption was there in the colleges. So it came to his notice and he wanted to remove all the corruption from CCH, and CCRH corruption is not being able to remove it. But then CCH, Indian Medical Association, Central Council of Homeopathy, Central Council of Ayurveda, everything was removed at one shot by Modi ji. And then he made a separate department, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Ministry, ISMH, Indian System of Medicine and Homeopathy, under Ministry of Ayush. A whole separate ministry was there, and there was a central cabinet minister, Sripad Naik sir, Goa. He unfortunately met with a very bad accident. His car overturned and he was in coma for quite a few months. Somebody was there from Goa, you are there.
He was not in coma, sir.
Yeah.
He had some fractures.
Yeah, I was.
Bike expired.
Bike expired. I know. So, is Dr. Naik still with the college or he has left?
He's on suspension.
I don't know. I was told that Naik went to Hyderabad.
No, sir.
Okay.
Status.
Fine. But your college is very nice. I came to take a lecture at your college in Goa. It's there on the hill. Very beautiful. Whenever you visit to Goa, go and visit this college. It's a very nice college. Because I was invited by the then principal to take an honorary lecture in Goa, and I had been to that college. Anyway, next slide. Conclusion. Today, India is a very one of the most important country to lead this system, right? And we have more than 200 plus colleges at undergraduate level and 50 plus colleges at postgraduate level. And the future of homeopathy lies in India, right? So we have framed the timeline from the 18th century, from the Hahnemann's timeline till now. Next slide. These are my references. I am very open from where I have taken these references. Thank you. No, let it work under Indian system of medicine. There is a reason. The reason is very simple. I have always believed no system in this world is complete.
Yes.
We have to be honest. Homeopathy has its own limitations and own advantages. Likewise, Ayurveda has its own limitations and advantages. Likewise, Unani has its own advantages. Wherever ultimately our aim is to help our patients, wherever and in whatever form that we are able to use. I am giving you one example of, there are two Ayurvedic medicines, Fortige and Bangshi. Now it is made by one Ayurvedic pharmacy, LRC pharmacy. I have seen those drugs to be one of the most effective drugs for benign enlargement of the prostate. I have given it to more than 100 patients, 2 pills morning, evening for 3 months, and I have witnessed sonographic regression of prostate size in a large series of patients. Right? So why not use it? Why not use it? And why even make allopathy such a bad science? I mean, it is not that bad a science. You know, I never blame allopathy because every science has its own role. If you have a life-threatening emergency, if I am getting a cardiac arrest, I am going to rush to the hospital. I am not going to go to Kasim. I will be very honest. He may be a good friend, but I am not going to go to him. I am going to go to a cardiologist. And I am going to get my heart examined if I am getting a cardiac arrest. Right? I don't want to experiment with my life. As simple as that.
Not for practical utility, but just to
Let it remain, it is always better. It is always better because there would be better management. You know, interdisciplinary management is always good. See, I will give you people are all from different homeopathic colleges. I had one wonderful blueprint in my mind. I do not know, for some weird reasons that has never ever been utilized. You know, I was told, Mr. Manchanda only told me, why hide the name? Mr. Manchanda told me that Chintan government funding a year for research in homeopathy and for newer development is 300 crores. That means every year Central Ministry is funding, they spending 300 crores. Even this particular event that we have gathered here is also a sponsored event by that ministry. Everybody is funded. I think everybody is expenses for coming and going back and eating and everything, and probably they pay some per day allowances also. I do not really know speaking time, but then they do give. I was told that they do give some allowances. Basic allowances, something or the other is given. Right? A lot of funding comes. What happens? I'm not asking or questioning the funding. The government always keeps saying that show us documentation, show us the statistics, and we'll give you grants. For any submission of any grants, you require statistics. Now, every homeopathy college, of late something weird has happened. Now, probably the ministry said that you don't require to show peripheral OPDs, you only have to have one college OPD in central, and the peripheral OPDs are abolished now, because you can't show the data on your records. So nobody wants to run peripheral OPDs. But it's actually a very good concept. Supposing your college is there, now your college, supposing, let us presume that it has got 10 peripheral OPDs, right? Now, in that 10 peripheral OPDs, supposing, if that peripheral OPD is managed by say 6 students, 3 in the morning, 3 in the evening, right? Let us not make it free, let us keep it, some charge, maybe 5 rupees, right? Now, if it is being run regularly, one batch is over, it hands over the batch to the next level of students. Now, supposing there are say 20 patients in the morning session and maybe 20 patients in the evening session, that means you got 40 patients from non-OPD. That means if you are running say 10 OPDs, you got 400 patients a day. That means if it is running for 25 days a month, you got about 10,000 patients. That means in a year, one college peripheral OPD got more than 1 lakh patients data. So supposing a state like Gujarat, which is having say 35 odd colleges, if they have a central database, a server where all the data could be uploaded on a daily basis, right? What medicine is given is immaterial. Homeopathy is an individualistic science. We don't really need to get into the modalities of what is being prescribed. But a homeopathy medicine is prescribed, and of that, say, one college 1 lakh data and 30 colleges 30 lakh data, and repeat patients we may cut down to say 30% because there could be follow-ups. Even then, it is about say 5 lakh patients worth of data. Out of that, supposing there are say 70,000 patients of bronchial asthma and say 50,000 patients of allergic rhinitis and say 30,000 patients. And then if from that data, supposing we say only 20% of them got cured, let us say 80% results failed. But 20% of 50,000 is a huge series. And if we can document that, you have an address, you have telephone number, you have pre-post reports, if you can document them and serve that data to government, can any government deny that data, statistical data? They have to come give you grants. Why is this not being done? Only God knows, because there are n number of means. Again, most of you have done your MD, so you all studied research methodology, biostatistics and research methodology, and you all studied what is mean and median and mode and what is n value of n and what is the series of n. So for all good reasons, your variance in series of n may have x number of variants in this. So a statistician will tell you that your data is statistically irrelevant. But no, we have to convince them that this data is statistically relevant because the drug doesn't matter. Everybody may prescribe a different drug and every patient may receive a different drug for same clinical diagnosis. That is not significant. We have to learn research methodologies in much more depth to make our data more statistically relevant. When you publish this data, you put across, take this message to wherever you people go, in whatever colleges that you people go. I see a lot of youngsters from my state. There are these young colleges which are there in this Mehsana belt and in this belt. Colleges are mushrooming in Gujarat. Many of the colleges are run-of-the-mill colleges where only there are a few teachers. I go for inspections or I go for staff selection and I get scared. I get so scared that honestly for the last few years I have stopped attending, going as examiner in any of the universities. I have stopped drawing papers. I have stopped going as a PG guide or an examiner. I have stopped going even for inspections because it disturbs my mind. Anyway, but then a lot of youngsters, dynamic guys, you are the ones who can make the change. If you are taking academics as a career, do justice to this career. We are at the fag end of our careers. Whatever we had to do in our career, we did. But then it is the era of you people, young guys, enthusiastic guys. You're all enthusiastic because if you have come all the way from your place here to attend a CME or an ROTC, that itself means that you are enthusiastic. Right? So keep up the good spirit and let me know if you have any questions. I will only discuss about India. You want to ask the future of homeopathy, you want to ask what is the legal status of homeopathy around the globe, you can ask me. I have got my students who are there across the globe. So I am fairly conversant with what is the current scenario out there. Any questions? I have students who are practicing in New Zealand, I have got students who are practicing in Australia, I have got students who are practicing in US, I have got students who are practicing in Canada, doing good job. That's it. I think these are not cases, honestly. So there is no question of much of interaction through cases. I told you I have been given a very raw, dry topic and few hours notice, but whatever justice I could do, I did.
Yes.
request my book on Organon. And what has happened, I published this book 3 years back and it got exhausted. Now I am publishing the revised second edition, which should be out in the next 2 or 3 months, because when I started writing, I forgot that I need to consider the complete framework of our syllabus. So I missed on to commentary of Stuart Claus, H.A. Roberts, Richard Hughes as designated by our undergraduate syllabus. First 8, 10 chapters are there. So I missed on to the commentary. So I inculcated those.
I gone through this book yesterday, the ma'am had shown me in this college.
Yes. I had sent complimentary copies to each and every college across India. You? Each and every college has been sent a copy by me. I took up the mailer from the list of Sshmc Council and I made a copy to each and every college. I think your college has one. Okay. This book is purely from the student's perspective or for newer generation teachers. I will send. You can all take my cell phone number and just send me a message whenever I have the copy, because it is in print. Whenever I get a copy, I'll send you. It's 9537 9537 1252.
Sir, repeat again.
But I repeat. 9537 125212. Right?
9537
125212. Okay. Thanks, sir. All right. Sir, I'm through. I finished my class before time. I was told that you all have to take these guys out somewhere and you try and finish your lecture by 4:50. So I did try. You can immediately come, no issues. Absolutely. Ask Keval sir to arrange a car behind me and I will take that. No problem. Okay. Bring the room, Organon teachers are always, jack of all teachers. So in your college also, if nobody has come, you are the ones who are pushed at any class because you are the ones who can go from first year to final year. So it's basically your unluckiness or whatever. Even at my age, when my juniors or my assistant professor or my lecturer doesn't turn up, and if I am at college, I am forced to still go and take classes in all the classes. I just hope I didn't